What I love to do is introduce the right people to the right people.
I assemble the smartest people I can think of or reach out to carry that conversation, and that's exactly what I've done today.
Please give my panel a round of applause. Welcome.
Okay, guys, Jay Martin here, CEO of Cambridge House, and I'm joined right now by Mike Timmins, the CEO of Fury Gold. Mike, how are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me, Jay.
I'm glad to have you. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this story because my audience is relatively familiar. You know, we covered Oren in the spring prior to the split. There was a lot of excitement around that story. And Fury is the first company to be trading. It's the gold company out of that Oren split. And, you know, I've been watching the story very closely. It's great jurisdiction, lots of optionality, you know, 3 projects in Canada. And truthfully, I think has the potential, Mike, to be one of the most exciting gold stories in the next 2 years. So expectations are high. Let's dive into it. Why don't we start with the origin, Mike, because I want to hear from you, you know, why this was spun out of Oren, why you joined the team, and let's start with that.
Sure. So Fury was formed, as you say, as a result of Oren's reorganization and the concurrent acquisition of Eastmain. That was announced on July 29th last year. At the deal, Oren spun out its 2 Peruvian assets, right? So it had the Canadian assets in the portfolio and had the Peruvian assets. And of course, you can't get paid for both, right? You can't have max value for both. The investors are in the name for various reasons, right? Yeah. When they spun out, obviously, it allowed their Canadian portfolio to merge with Eastmain's Eau Claire project, right, which was kind of the target acquisition and something a bit more up the resource development pipeline than Homestake and certainly than Kennedy Bay.
Right.
So the transaction and our $23 million initial financing officially closed on October 9th, forming Fury Gold Mines, right?
Okay.
So Fury is an explorer, resource developer focused on high-grade gold in Canada. And so the vision is to build a mining company, right? And so that was the whole design and the basis for why it was removed from Oren, right? Mm. So Peru, exploration focused, and this is going to be more, you know, ounce-based resource development.
Yeah.
And let's move, right? So that means, I mean, if we want to be a mining company, which is the vision, yeah, you know, that's growth through large-scale exploration and smart acquisitions, right? Out of the gate, we have 3.7 million ounces at an average resource grade of around 7 grams, which I think is a bit of a standout. 2 projects, as I said, are in resource expansion, and 2 of them are in pure exploration projects.
Right.
So we've planned, you know, 80 to 100,000 meters of drilling over the next 18 months to really support the launch and drive this introduction into the market. Yeah. And the mindset we're going out with is you know, big action plans mean big gains in value, right? And that's what we've kind of have lined up for shareholders in 2021.
Right. Okay. Now, yeah, I'm totally with you. The split makes sense in that context because, you know, I think I understand the mind of the retail investors because I am one and I want to see a simple path to share appreciation or at least a direct correlation to something. And if you have too much optionality, it becomes a bit confusing, right? You're like, how is this going to perform, right? And that makes sense. And yes, it's very clear to me it's a development company, but you've got some exploration upside. So the retail mindset makes sense to me. You guys have some really smart capital behind you. I want to touch on that. So any highlights you want to mention, Mike, in terms of the management and the shareholder base?
You know, I think you talk about, you know, the first thing you want to do is talk about the team, right? I mean, you always hear, you know, whenever you have a CEO on, they want to talk about, you know, we've got the best team, we've got this, right? But I think you have to talk about the team members, right? It's not just one CEO making good decisions that things happen. You know, it's not just, you know, the team on the ground doing it. It's everyone. And the most important part of our strategy that you've touched on a little bit is people, right? Yeah. And when it comes to the team, investors, I think, need to know that there's 3 components of the team for Fury, right? There's the management and technical leadership, right? So the top 3 people of the team are from Newmont Goldcorp and Agnico, right? So that's decades of experience. All of our skill sets are around multiple asset platforms, running large teams and shouldering the big expectations that you talked about on the front end, right?
Yeah.
We have, so that's one component of it. The second component of it is we have a very diverse and developed external technical specialists, right? That we use to kind of deepen our analysis for faster and better decision making, right? A lot of people have their consultants, but we have a little bit of a, you know, it's the second line that comes in behind us. right? And the third aspect to it, I think, are the market and capital access, right? The marketing engines, skill sets, relationships coming in from Oren, will continue in Fury, right? And we've ignited those, and they're ready to hit the throttle, right? But the real force multiplier for us, I think, is in the stacking of these teams and skill sets, right? We integrate like you would do in a major mining company. I think that's going to be our edge. And our competitive advantage going forward, right? So, there are, our top shareholders and some big names in our sector are supporters of Fury, and I think they see this our approach and our people approach as a bit of a differentiator, and remain long the story, and we're certainly grateful for that.
Okay, now you mentioned 80 kilometer drilling program now underway across all three projects. So my assumption is we should see pretty consistent news flow 18 months or so.
Yeah, I think for the next 18 months, we can just walk through the assets. The next 18 months, it was going to be busy drilling, really, and quite active, right? So we just commenced drilling at Eau Claire. It's in the James Bay region of Quebec. 1 million ounces at 8 grams, not the 6 grams that's in the PEA. 60% of the resources are measured and indicated, so it's a pretty high quality resource in our view, given the geological setting. 50,000 meters in that program, infill step out drilling to test the down plunge extension of the deposit, which we can talk about further. We're 6 holes into that program. Assays pending, and the results will be out shortly.
Okay.
If we go over to Homestake, as you know that asset well. It resides at the southern tip of BC's Golden Triangle. Yeah. Has a nice starter resource, 1.2 million ounces at over 7 grams gold equivalent. And the approach in 2021 is really, for me, a return to exploration. And my goal there is to dramatically improve the ounce profile of that project.
Got it.
So we're going to absolutely hammer it this summer with the largest drill program that I think that project has ever seen. We want to do some expansion, we want to do some upgrading of the current resource, as well as testing some exciting theories and some deep targets as we chase the high-grade shoots, right? Okay. So Oren, hadn't had a program like that before, right? So it was basically, what is this? How does Homestake fit into Oren? The guys, largely in exploration, and it didn't seem really to have a home.
Right.
But certainly Homestake tucks in very nicely behind Eau Claire. And I think there's more potential there than has been revealed, right? So it's going to be 20 to 30,000 meter program we're going to do, kick off early summer, and the results of that program are going to come out as we go into September's conference season. So I think the timing is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah. Okay.
When you go over in the Committee Bay, shareholders are uniquely positioned in a world-class, advanced exploration project in Nunavut, right? We control that greenstone belt that from Oren, high grade top to bottom, heavy lifting behind us. I'm spoiled as kind of the new guy coming into this project, just because of all the ingredients are there. Something interesting happened recently, though, which in the region, which was the acquisition of TMAC by Agnico. And I know you saw that. So you have the best mining company in the world doubling down in Nunavut with a second operating platform. So to me, that's compelling evidence of the region being one of the last few places on Earth where you can still find and develop large scale high grade gold deposits. So the feedback from our investors, even on the back of that news, right, we're all getting calls like, "Hey, you guys are well positioned there. This is going to be great." It was all good news for the region, and certainly good news for the sector. People, removing risk from the sector. It's good for everybody. I think that's the investors remain positive, and they really, because they're starting to anticipate, what's to come when we go up there this summer, right? Right. Exploration plans for the summer are going to include probably the most impactful 10 to 15,000 meters that we drilled on that project to date, right? So we have a 1.2 million ounce at 7 gram resource at 3 Bluffs. So we're going to expand that resource and drill some mature regional targets that we have for a new discovery. So some big swings going up there this summer, subject to COVID restrictions, right? Which we're very sensitive with the vulnerable communities that we have up north.
Yes.
And I guess finally, if we're being thorough, let's talk a little bit about the news we put out just before Christmas on the Eleanor South joint venture.
Please.
Right. So this was an exploration partnership that we have with Newmont and Azimuth. We're the operator of that GB, which obviously is key to have the hammer on the planning. It's 15,000 hectares contiguous to the south of the Eleanor mine, which hosts an 11-kilometer structural corridor. We're really focused on 5-kilometer wide geochem anomaly, good grades, and that's going to be the focus of our drilling at Q4 once we complete all the summer programs and get all of our data sets together to help with our targeting. That project held very little value in East Main, and so I'm pretty excited for the drilling and of the view that we can create and crystallize a ton of value in the stock with our work this year. So overall, very active, as you said. I don't think there's any shortage of geological potential at our assets, and we have a very busy technical calendar, which is a great situation to be in.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. And planning drilling into Q4 with the new venture. Okay. And that's kind of how I understood this story. Eau Claire is maybe the most exciting asset when you first take a look. Focus at Homestake is growing the ounces, increasing the ounces, and then there's some exploration upside at Committee Bay. Mike, are you now looking at the share price? And I guess, we're seeing analyst conversations talking about it's trading at a discount to the value they see. But what are your thoughts?
We are trading around 0.45 times NAV, which, as you pointed out, is low. I think it's very low given the quality of the team, our assets, and the game plan that we've put together. Yeah. And that's just the situation we have currently, right? And secondly, it doesn't really reflect the growth potential that we have, or certainly any of the plans that I've just outlined, right?
Yes, which is great.
Yeah. It's still early days, we've been a company now, for about, 100 days, and we haven't really put any results out yet. Right. So I think it is early, but generally though, when I hear all the little tidbits and the conversations and certainly the questions that we get from investors, I really kind of categorize them into two factors. Okay. There's a lot of residual trading sentiment and emotion from the Oren East Main deal. Right, where simply investors are exiting. So on the Oren side, it was, they were there for Peru, right? They had a bit of patience with Fury, but we're really there for Peru, right? And so they're selling. On the East Main side, I think generally it was fatigue. I think earlier last year they did a financing at 10 cents. Okay. And so, at the deal, it was a bit of a multiple for them. So most of the fatigued shareholders kind of rotated out and simply just wanted out, right? That is all based on emotion and not on logic. Obviously, given the the ingredients for Fury and the excitement we have going forward, right? Drilling high grade gold into a rising gold price environment with high quality team, and a strong treasury, right? So again, the bucket one was emotion. We've done 150 to 170 Zoom meetings over the last 3 to 4 months. Whether it's a half an hour or an hour, people leave the meetings energized, excited, and vibrating for what's coming. But we're not seeing that in the share price, right? So to me, that's a big wait and see mentality.
And do you think they're waiting to see the Eau Claire results, or what are they waiting for?
They're waiting to see data from us and Eau Claire results, right? Yeah. And so that's a combination of things, right? There hasn't been a ton of recent technical work done on any of the assets. Right. When you couple that with us coming out of the gate with some pretty aggressive and heavy messaging on, we're going to rescale this and we're going to do a new discovery here. And I mean, this is just the large scale mindset that we're comfortable coming out. And that's our narrative. And that's really going to guide our activities as we go through the year. People are saying like, wow, like I love what you've put together. I understand it. I appreciate it. And I'm very, very, very interested. But you come up with some first drill results, and and then we'll be able to see. Right, give me some early conversion. On this aggressiveness and this boldness. Right, you want to be different. You want to be seen as a force in the market. It's exciting and everything else. Give us a taste. and then we'll come in. So, I mean, I can feel kind of the latent energy. I see that in who's taking the meetings with us.
Okay.
And more and more, right? We're getting a bit of traction. I mean, in some of the larger Canadian banks are picking us up in their in the morning snapshots and things like that. So it's you can get some of those indicators.
Yeah.
That people do understand and are waiting to see what's going on, right?
Right.
Certainly, the current investors and any new investor that's bought any shares since October 12th. Are obviously in line, right? We're going to have results out in the next couple of weeks, and I think that's going to change everything, right? Mm-hmm. Key drivers for the stock this year are going to be the rescaling of Eau Claire, right? Mm-hmm. And we want to be very very direct with what our plans are with Eau Claire, okay. And obviously the continuous drilling results that come from that, right? Yeah. Which is exciting. And secondly, Ounce Addition and the chance for a completely new discovery at Homestake Deep, and Community Bay, right? So, I mean, my personal goal, back to your comment on analysts, my personal goal is to test the consensus price target of 350.
Okay,
Canadian.
Got it. Okay, Mike. Look, thank you for your time. It's been good to dive into it and hear the story from you. And I want to do it again soon. Yeah, I'm excited for these results. We'll keep our eyes open. And I'd love to have you back on when that day comes.
Perfect, Jay. Thank you for having me again.